Hey, this is Andy Brainer again from the KIVU Gap Year, and I have with me another student from the class of 2014-15, just last year. So Katie Thiebaud is with us, and man, we are certainly excited that you've agreed to give us a little time and tell us about Gap Year. So welcome, Katie.
Thank you. I'm pumped.
So what I'd like to do is just start the conversation like I start every time, and just say, you know what, if you were talking to people about Gap Year and they said, what was the highlight of your Gap Year? What would you say? How do you describe it?
Gosh, I mean, that's such a hard question, but I think the highlight of my gap year was the way that my way of thinking was just completely altered. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? So just being open up to like so many more points of views or just like different ways of thinking, or I don't know. I just think it was just completely changed. And I mean, we talk about it all the time, how growing up where I grew up, all I watched was Fox News, and that was the only thing I saw. And I was raised in a Baptist church, which I love my church, but it's just one way of thinking all
Yeah.
through growing up in childhood.
So to give me just a little bit more of an example, like if we were to talk about ways of thinking, think back to that, 18-year-old Katie before she did Gap Year, and just describe for us a little bit of the process. Like, what do you mean change in thinking and different views and all that? What's that
Yeah.
specifically look like?
Yeah. So one thing that comes to mind is I think like, and this is probably one of my biggest takeaways too, is when we were living in Denver. I mean, everybody knows that Denver's like a huge population site for homelessness and homeless people and whatnot and train riders. So, kind of at home, I think I would have seen those people as like, oh, you got to stay away from them. They're dangerous, whatever, that crap. But, something that I think was completely altered was through meeting Jay, who was the homeless man that lived on the street corner of Colfax and looked out for all his Gap Year kids and always helped us cross the street, and just completely changed through the way I see them and the way I see not only homeless people, but then just other people I meet daily. So judging is just so stupid because you can miss out on so many cool stories and just so many cool relationships, or you can keep judging and not have as many cool friends.
I think that's an important piece. Part of Denver is to help students understand that people are people, and whether you're living on the homeless, side of the corner street or whatever, or you're jumping trains, or you're working in a high-rise building, that actually you have a story, and it's an important story. And we're just trying to help students kind of listen, listen
Yeah,
to stories. So instead of going to the downtown Denver and saying, we're going to come and save the homeless population, it's more like maybe we just need to listen to the homeless
yeah,
population and see what they're all about. Is that kind of what you're saying?
definitely. Everybody has a story, and it's just a matter of what you do with it or not.
That's good. So let's go back to that 18-year-old Katie. You're thinking about college. A lot of our prospective students right now are filling out applications and trying to get scholarships and all that stuff, and they're trying to get all those deadlines met by November 1st.
Yeah,
And I'm running into a lot of students who are like, man, that sounds incredible that I get to travel the world and meet all these cool people and do all these cool things. But the throttle is down to get them into college. So how did you process I got to go straight to college versus, hey, I think I'm going to take a little break and kind of do this gap year thing? What was that like for you?
Mine was a little different because I have never wanted to go to college. So when I heard about Gap Year, I was like, okay, sign me up, I'll do it. I applied before telling my parents. I was all for it. But I understand not everybody's going to be like that. And a lot of people I've actually been talking to have been, well, I've always wanted to go to college, but recently been kind of hearing this or feeling this kind of sense of, shoot, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. If that makes sense. So I think just something to tell people is that how the heck are you supposed to know who you are if all you've seen is where you grew up, or
That's good.
the same people you've been in school with. I mean, 75% of who I am is from Gap Year. I was not my own self until last year, I think. So I don't know. I just think it's so important to take that time. And I mean, sure, it sounds selfish, whatever, but in the end, it's not, because when you better yourself and figure out who you are, I think, then you can better other people. So
That's a good point.
I don't
So
know.
you sign up, you did the interview, you get accepted, you come out and start the gap year. As you think about the year, what was the highlight? Like, what was the thing that you enjoyed the most?
Of the whole year?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Actually I do remember sitting when my group camped in the Wadi Rum Desert. And first of all, let me say that again. We camped in the freaking Wadi Rum Desert. So we're like all sitting on these little mats, you know, all in a big circle, hanging out, talking with some, you know, our host homes and our friends, and drinking some tea, I don't know. And we're just all talking, and I look around and I was like, the possibility of me ever doing anything like this again with the people that I love more than anyone else is just so low. And so I just remember we all looked at each other and nothing was said, but we all looked at each other and we just kind of soaked it in, and we're like, okay, like let's make these last couple weeks worth it. And so we did. And I think that was just that. I mean, that was at the end for us, but that was just a huge night for us, I think.
Yeah,
Loved
for those
it.
of you who don't know, the Wadi Rum Desert is in Jordan, and we do a homestay visit in the Middle East, in Jordan, in Amman, Jordan. And so students actually live with families, and they live with other students, and they get a chance to do this really cool cross-cultural exchange in the Middle East while they do some relational training, what it means to love people and love yourself and give to other people. So the Wadi Rum Desert is kind of out there, you know. I mean, like your normal American
So
student's going to be
weird.
like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird, but holy cow, it just was so cool.
So tell us a little bit about where you are now. Like, what are you into? What school are you at? What are you studying? What's going on in your life now?
Cool. Okay, I'm at Samford University in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm a freshman. I am studying. My major is I'm on like a 5-year track to get my master's in social work,
Very
and my
cool.
major is family studies with a focus in child life specialties. But anyway, so still working that out. I'm far from home, but I've been farther, so it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But what else did you, sorry.
Well, no, this is good. This is good. So you're at Sanford, you're in
Yeah.
Alabama, you grew up in Texas, right? If I remember right. And so
Dallas.
tell me about the post-gap year integration back to school. What did that feel like? How did that go down? You know, what was that all about?
It was weird. Getting back, I mean, first just going home was weird. So yeah, couldn't sleep in a room by myself for the first couple weeks because I didn't know how. It was weird not sharing a bed with one of the other girls in my group, but you know, whatever, got used to it, got back in the flow of things. And at first I saw college as like, I was thinking, okay, it's the next thing, so bring it on. You know, didn't really think too much about it. And then when it hit and I was loading up my car and leaving, I kind of realized, okay, I'm a little terrified. I'm a little nervous. I haven't done school in a while, but got here, and geez, I've met incredible people and people that kind of think the same way that I left. Those friends that think the same way from gap year. But like I was telling you earlier, I think something that's changed is the way I view school and education, and just having a huge appreciation for it that I didn't before gap year. So like I love being in class. I love talking with my teachers afterwards, and I love to argue. It's fun.
That's cool. That's
But
very
yeah.
So if you, another part of the gap year is the parents. You know, obviously parents are looking at this program, and there's parents all over the place. You know, they're all over the map. There's some that are like, yeah, I want my kid to travel and I want my kid to be experienced before they go to university. And then there are other parents who are like, if I take them out of school, will they go back, or will they just like leave school altogether and not finish? Tell me a little bit about your parents. Like, how did they jive with you saying, hey, I want to do this gap year instead of going straight to college?
Okay, well, the first time I brought it up to my parents, my mom cried and my dad left and like walked out of the room. So
Oh my gosh.
he just started laughing and kind of left. And my mom was sitting there in tears. And so I was like, okay, maybe not. Maybe we'll just not do this.
Reset button. Quick.
I know. I was like, forget it. I was kidding.
Yeah.
No, then I brought it back up. I knew from the get-go when I first heard about it, I knew this is what I was supposed to do, and I knew I was going to do it, so I wasn't worried about it. They were not so much the same way. I mean, that's terrifying for a mom to send her kid away for that long. And it's not. It's so against the norm. It's crazy. So when I brought it back up to them a week later, they kind of looked at each other, and they're like, okay, you're serious about it. So they began praying about it. And we would pray about it together. My mom is a huge prayer warrior, so I'm sure she was praying about it 50 times a day. But it took a while. Honestly, she probably didn't accept it till like a week before I left. And so I'm not kidding. But I remember having a conversation with them, and it started off just talking about what I needed to pack for the first semester, and she kind of sat down and she was like, I know I didn't take it very well when you first told me about it, but I want you to know that, I had a Pharaoh's heart in this whole situation, which means she at the beginning was just so against it, and so was my dad. They were just very against it, but just with prayer and persistence and me kind of talking about it every day, their hearts were so softened to it and just very open to the idea. And they my dad would kill me if I didn't mention this, but the things that not only that I've learned because of Gap Year, but that they have learned are crazy. Most of my homestay families were Muslim, and they have grown to have a huge appreciation for people of Islamic faith or Jews or whatever it is, and they're genuinely interested in it too. So it's not just, you hear another religion and typical American just shuts it down. It's, oh, that's cool, tell me more about that. And it's just awesome, and I love it. And I just love that not only was I able to learn and grow from it, but so are they.
That's huge, because a lot of times a parent will say, what is my kid going to benefit out of this? And they don't realize that when your student goes across the world and they're reporting back on issues that you thought you had secure in your worldview, and you thought you understood A to Z, and then all of a sudden you start asking questions. That's really important. So the Gap Year really is like a family journey, for parents.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So what would you do different? Like, what, if you look back on the year, what would you do different that maybe, if you have any regrets, what are your regrets?
Oh, this is hard for me to admit because I'm not good at this, but I would, as soon as I got the chance back in Denver to open up and be honest about, I don't know, honestly, just open, like you could stop there, just open up. I would have.
Yeah.
I think I waited a little too long to do that. And my friendships, they're all still my closest friends, and they all know the most about me. But I definitely think, missing an opportunity to open up can kind of, how do you word that? Can just kind of change, your whole year. But I definitely waited too long too. But, I would just say, as soon as you get the chance, do it, because it's going to make all the difference.
That's a huge, like, we can say that, and we can talk about how valuable that is, but until a student actually walks through the journey, just like you did, they don't really sense or feel that this program is really about love, and it's really about caring for people, and it's really about helping students get from point A to point B with no judgment. I mean, it seems like everywhere we grow up around us, there are people looking to judge us based on our performance, whether it's in faith or school or academic or athletics or whatever. There's always somebody that's looking over their shoulder saying you're not good enough. And so to be around a group of people that are like, no, really, you're good enough. Like, you're good enough just how you are, no matter if you tell me, like, if you told me you killed somebody, I'd come visit you in jail, but I'm not going to stop loving you because you did something bad. So that's kind of a cool ethos. All right. So anything that you feel like you would want to share with students or parents of future gap years or past gap years that we didn't talk about?
I would say this is probably pretty cliche, but I would say if you're seriously thinking about it or if it's just crossed your mind, I can't tell you how important prayer is within the entire process. And that, again, is something that's very easy to say and not do. But I'm 100% sure that if my family hadn't prayed about it together and as individuals, I wouldn't have had the year I had.
Yeah.
So yeah, prayer is, holy cow, there's power in prayer.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'll never forget one of my favorite memories of your gap year was sitting on the top of that hostel in Jaffa, just talking about life and Middle East and future and just kind of wondering, you know, what's going to come next and just kind of exploring our own fears and our own, you know, anxieties. And it was really good. So I remember that conversation. It was really fun hanging out.
Yeah, we loved that. Oh, that was like one of my favorite times. That was just, it was cool because in that moment, and Zach and I had talked about it before, but just in that moment, we were like, okay, whoa, there really are people that care about what we do and want to see us be our best and be just the coolest we can be. So yeah, we loved that. That was cool.
That's good. Hey, thanks for your time. I know you're busy doing college stuff. I really appreciate the time you took to work out the technical stuff and then, you know, kind of press on. So I'm thankful and appreciative and look forward to seeing where you go.
Yeah. Thank you. Me too. Good to talk to you.
Right on. So Andy Brainer again here with the KIVU Gap Year. If you want to learn more about KIVU Gap Year, you can check it out at www.kivugapyear.com, where you can follow the students that are currently in the program. You can read about their blogs, and I've asked them to write the good, the bad, the ugly, so you can read about, you know, kind of the journey of every student. And you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram or, you know, kind of wherever you wanted to Google in KIVU Gap Year. So stay tuned. We'll have more students, and we'll get more perspectives about what this thing's all about. Appreciate you guys, and see you soon.